about that. Got a late night. How's it going, ma'am? I'm doing alright. How are you doing, sir? Doing alright. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Would you like to talk in your office or wherever you'd like? Alright. Oh, wonderful. Do you mind if I put my book back down? Alright, good go. First, let me thank you for meeting me. I didn't know if you were going to get my email. I have problems with the email here. This won't take too much of your time.
I had a 10 o'clock to adjust, which is why
That's all. I understand. Oh, that's okay. Right. I think I've seen you around this building before, even before the semester. Right. The reason why I asked to meet with you is due to the letter that was disseminated by a Mr. Wolf.
And they sent a copy of it.
I know they did. That letter absolutely mischaracterizes what's been going on, and indeed I have much supporting documentation to illustrate that. Indeed, I have also, like the letters that kind of outline a general description of what happened, along with a 14-page document that illustrates the chronology of events, and supporting documentation to include emails, and if need be, recorded conversations. I never violated the code of conduct of 1, 2, or 3, and the reason why I'm talking to you is because this letter, the motivation of this letter is beyond vicious. This is a blatant attempt at character defamation, which is why I'm pursuing a lawyer for that individual, not for the university in general. What's that? Dean Wolf, as well as Dean Steinwert. I just wanted to sit there and express to you, if you have any questions, you can read this documentation. Because I mean, I take great offense to this.
I will take your documentation, this is really out of our hands. This is not something the school initiated.
No, I know, and I'm not attacking the school.
Yeah, no, but I want
you understand, I mean, I'm a 14-year vet. My character and my honor is something I hold very dearly. And so, when I have somebody make blatant falsehoods as to what occurred, particularly in a manner that defames my character, I take that very seriously. So, and that's the reason why I want to... Well, no, the letter sits there and says right here, I want to advise you that your conduct with Tiffany Steinwert this semester has been threatening to her mental health and safety, and I was, I'm told that I can't visit her office. That, by definition, the logic of this letter paints me out to be some kind of disruptive, unprofessional, and that's just not true. I mean,
well, in any case, it doesn't really say what you did.
I didn't do anything to deserve this letter.
Mental health or safety.
Right, I didn't do anything.
I want you to understand, we're receivers.
No, I'm not aggravated with you, sir, at all. At all.
Right.
What I'm just saying is that this person went out of his way to send this, obviously, to, like, people that are involved in my academic pursuits.
Oh, that's pretty routine.
Right, I'm just saying. Aside from that, none of this is true. Like, none of this is true. And all of this stuff has undermined my ability to feel... Actually, they violated Code 1, 2, 3. You have to forgive me, I'm a little late because it was late night last night studying.
What did you do?
Well, Dean Steinwert thought it was... And she's like a radical left-wing ideologue. And indeed, she thinks that that position at Henderson, this is her own words, is to push her own particular worldview's agenda. Fine, she can operate on any worldview she cares to, regardless of how morally, ethically, or factually bankrupt it is. She decided to sit there, and that's the picture that happened on September 11th, and I'm a ground zero vet. She thought it was, particularly appropriate to attempt to hijack the significance of September 11th to push her Islamic apologetic worldview. She did not ask the student body if they would feel offended. She did not ask the veterans if they'd feel offended here. She didn't even take any time out to ensure that there were to see if there was any students that had lost family members in that attack, which I know too personally. Right, and so I set up a meeting with her office, which you can see, which is validated with this email here. That's the validation email that I got back from her office. And I set up with an office to sit there. I even asked to take her out to lunch or coffee. I offered to take her out to lunch or coffee. During that time period, I asked her, I met with her, and I said, if you don't mind, I don't want to have this discussion inside Hendricks Chapel because I have the respect for the spiritual and communal significance of that building. I don't turn God's house into a debate platform. That's not what that place is for. So I asked her to accompany me to a couple of coffee. She said she didn't have time, so I said, would you mind coming outside? And so she came outside, which was nice, and in a polite and professional manner. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten her. I wasn't within 3 feet of her. I just expressed to her in no uncertain detail, professionally. I did not appreciate at all the fact that she took time out to sit there and attempt to hijack the significance of September 11th, particularly a significance that's defined by the murder of close to 3,000 of my fellow citizens, to push a particular view. Indeed, I even made a point to say that I didn't say she couldn't hold that view. I didn't say that we shouldn't have that kind of discussion. I'm saying that day is not the right day. And indeed, if it was my worldview that was being pushed, I would be just as livid. Dean Steinwert then, she kept interrupting me throughout the entire conversation. It was obvious she was extremely curt, rude, and dismissive and combative. Finally, at the end, she had sat there and said something along the lines of, well, it's my freedoms of speech. And we ended up partying and going our separate ways. Dean Steinwert then went to the DPS and falsified the report, which I met with the captain DPS 3 times, which I didn't have to because I didn't do anything wrong. I even took him out to lunch. He said he didn't feel me to be a threat. Fine. Okay. And then along comes Veterans Day, and she sits there and again says, do you think that's a platform to push a particular worldview? Which is, she makes it a point to say things like service women and then men. Okay, she broke, not that I'm not saying that women don't deserve equal rights. What I'm saying is that day's not about her or her worldview. It's about veterans. And if somebody sits there and makes it a decided point to separate from the established norm of how people are referred to service personnel, which is servicemen, that means they had a premeditative thought about why they should do so. And so I told her outside of Hendricks Chapel. I walked up to her, I said, hi, Dean Steinberg, because I thought that was her name. I just wanted to share, and this is what I said, I wanted to share with you, I'm talking to her, the fact that I felt, again, feel deeply offended that she took an event of national significance to push a particular worldview. She said in a very curt, rude, dismissive manner, I'm sorry you feel that way. I said, have a nice day, and walked away. She then falsified a report to the DPS again. And so I get a call from DPS again, and I go meet with John in his office, which I didn't have to do. And I'm then greeted by not only John, but another agent of this university, which they shut the door. Instantly, like about a bazillion alarm bells are going off. To which then, Officer Toya, all this is right here, took it upon himself to try and bait me. Bait me. And so after the second time he interrupted me, I said, Officer Toya, I even asked him, first I asked John, do I need legal representation here? He said he didn't think so. I said, okay. And as I sat down, I said, I just want to make sure that before we begin, that I reserve the right to leave this office and seek legal counsel. And so, Officer Toya says in his combative tone, you see the door isn't locked, right? I'm like, okay, it's not locked, it's closed with no discernible means to record the nature of what's going on in this office. I wasn't born yesterday. Okay. That said, because of my deep respect for police officers and communal harmony, I sat down and listened. After immediately it became very evident that person was not involved in having any kind of rational discourse. After the second time he interrupted me, I told him in no uncertain detail, it's the second time you interrupted me. The third time I'm going to get out of this chair and I'm going to leave this office. He interrupted me again. I stood up. I said, this conversation is over. And then instantly that guy jumped out of his chair, got within 2 inches of my face, pointed his fingers in my face, screaming at the top of his lungs, you're never going to go talk to Dean Steinwert again. And I'm trying to get out of the office. Holy shit. That was Officer Toya. This is all annotated here. And he followed me out in the hallway of DPS, continuing to harass me. This is all video recorded. And then into the foyer. And then he sits there and says, and if you don't, you're going to be sorry. I don't want to cuss out loud. And so I turned around, and I was like, what does that mean? And he got put on his face. He's like, well, I'm like, no. He's like, well, you figure it out. No. You define to me what I'm going to be sorry means. He's like, when he's trying to think of something, he's like, well, you could be suspended or suspended. I'm like, for what? I haven't done anything at all. And so, then it continued to go on, and then I got this letter. Now, I met with Dean Wolf twice. Once after September 11th, which I sat there and came, after an hour-long deliberation with him, we came to a mutual agreement of an alternative form of resolution of this issue, which is both me, him, and Dean Steinberg were supposed to sit down and talk this out. I mean, that's pretty rational. Even after the vicious thing she did, which she doesn't deserve, the courtesy I extended her. What I'm saying is,
Did you guys have this?
no, Dean Wolf arbitrarily decided to not honor that agreement. And all that I have recorded. So there's no if and ands. I mean, if you have any question as to the legitimacy of what I'm saying.
So you're objecting to this?
Right, I found that to be extremely offensive, in the sense that, because I talked to her, her motivation was to push.
Reading the Quran?
Yeah, absolutely. In particular, what motivated that demonstration was the backlash by a majority of Americans, particularly with the quote-unquote victory mosque being put at ground zero, which is now being designated a Muslim cultural center. Right, and she happens to take the approach or the side of the people who are involved in building that victory mosque / Muslim cultural center. My point is, that's not the day to do that.
I'm looking at the basis. It's probably not. You might be right about that, but people are entitled to their views, and there is a difference of view on this.
Okay, my point is, that's fine.
And there's a lot of politicians who take one view and then tried to run for cover when they thought it wasn't proper.
Right.
You know,
so here's my...
Reading the Quran and the climate of religious intolerance and hate. I mean...
And timing it to the moments the planes hit the building? That's over the top. Absolutely. Indeed, almost all the people I've talked to, the students who lost family members here took great offense to that.
Yeah.
So most of the vets I know at ground zero, that myself included there go here, take offense to that. Aside from that, because that you could say is like my worldview, what I'm saying is going and falsifying reports to the DPS is a means to insulate, because it's fine, she can do what she wants to do. She's also open to criticism of how she runs that office, so long as that criticism is provided in a professional and non-disruptive manner, which indeed I did. That does not justify calling DPS, falsifying reports to DPS. I tried to resolve the issue.
Is this your first run-in with judicial affairs?
I didn't even go to judicial. That's the other thing. They didn't even follow the procedures that are established here in this university. Like, I looked up all those. They didn't follow any of them. And the reason why they didn't follow any of them, because they have nothing on me. I didn't do anything wrong. So I don't understand, because they're telling me you're not officially in trouble. How can I get an unofficial official letter that expands the rules of 1, 2, and 3 of the Code of Conduct? Because the very nature of judicial process, it means it has to be more believable than not. And there's no evidence, none, because I haven't done anything.
So you're going to file a lawsuit?
And yeah, absolutely, for what they've done here.
You're aware of this last paragraph on the first page? Does that constitute contact?
What's that?
Any further contact with the inspector or her office will constitute a failure to comply.
Well,
so who's going?
I haven't contacted her office. Why would I give them more ammunition?
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. I'm asking about this lawsuit.
Well, why?
I'm not asking about it. I'm just saying, watch it for yourself. Yeah.
Right. Well, the point is that I have to. But I mean, how could it be? I mean, essentially it says what?
It can be interpreted as harassing her.
I'm the one that suffered. She's the one that's actually violated my rights as a student.
Because of what? Because of this?
Because of that and the fact that she falsified reports to DPS. Okay. You can't do that.
What did she say to DPS?
The fact that I had to meet with DPS at all. Because I happened to sit there and not appreciate.
Felt threatened by it?
That's, I don't know.
More or less what this says.
Right.
Threatening to her mental health and her...
None of that I did. I don't understand how offering to take somebody out to lunch Now, don't get me wrong, I wasn't happy with what she did. That's not threatening. Setting up, people who are threatening don't set up an appointment to, like, you ever watch The Simpsons?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so when Homer goes up and President George Herbert Walker Bush moves into the office and he comes up, he's like, "What are you here for, sir?" "I'm here to punch George W. Bush in the face." "Okay, do you have an appointment?" That's not normal. No one does that. Right? I mean, if I was off my rocker or I was somehow, I wouldn't go and set up an appointment. That's crazy. And I definitely wouldn't ask somebody out for lunch. I wouldn't indeed offer Dean Wolfe an alternative means to resolve this impasse, which was to have all three of us sit down, because even though I know what her message is, because I've read her statements, I've done background research in what she's done, to who's who of radical left-wing ideology. In her words, Hendricks Chapel, the only holy justice is social justice. That's her own words. She said that in regards to her role at Hendricks Chapel on October 25th, it's in Syracuse's newspaper. I don't go unless I'm just saying. That's insane. I'm not saying that social justice is bad.
Right.
I myself come from a marginalized demographic, right, that she seems to think she speaks for, which she does not speak for all of us. I mean, I myself have alternative sexual lifestyles that come from a gay household. She did her dissertation on homosexual Christianity.
Social justice is not necessarily one definition.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
But I'm saying, well, she can have that view, and then we can discuss.
That's fine. She won't allow discussion.
You think so?
Right.
3 million other people think so.
Are all going to be different. The point is, she doesn't allow discussion, and indeed thinks that her position, not only that position is her own personal platform to lodge ideological ICBMs at people, she thinks it makes her beyond reproach. You can't sit there and say, well, if you're the dean of that runs a facility here, right, that provides a good service to students, that means you had a nice discussion with me, right? And I mean, admittedly, I'm a little flaky because I was up until about 4 in the morning studying. Right, this is all in finals week. My point is, she didn't act like this. I mean, she interrupted me multiple times. You could tell she didn't want to hear what I had to say. Like, oh my God, that's not. How is that conducive to the role of a dean of Hendricks Chapel, whose significance, both spiritually and communally, is to sit there and be one of understanding and peace?
I understand. I mean, it's one thing to make an appointment to me and talk and the dialogue. Right. It's another thing to buttonhole somebody outside, and then try to. I mean,
buttonhole.
Well, I mean, you walked up to her and said, "Hey, I don't object to this. This is a bad reference."
Well, no, I mean, like, you're talking about that's in Veterans Day.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
That wasn't a formal appointment.
It wasn't a formal appointment. The point is, I see professors all the time. You can come up and walk and interact with professors and faculty and administration here. Yeah. I didn't act unprofessional. I didn't cuss. I didn't raise my voice.
I don't know.
Right. Well, no. You don't have to believe me. It's videotaped.
That's what I'm saying to you. I would just receive a letter.
Right. I'm just saying that this.
None of us initiated any of this.
Dean, I absolutely understand and know. I understand that. What I'm saying is that since that came out, that has undermined my academic pursuits all throughout this. I mean, and it's in my file, which that's one of the reasons that I'm showing. That's going to get expunged from my file, because that's not right. Because that defames my character, and because it went to this office, I wanted you to understand that is not an accurate portrayal at all as to what transpired. That's all I'm doing. Right. And I don't want you to get the wrong idea about me. I am deeply appreciative to this university for affording, and you can see it here, even things I disagree with, for affording me the skill sets that allow me to serve my country further. I will always be grateful for that. My point is that my motivation is very much similar to what's emblazoned down on the wall in Maxwell, right behind President Washington's statue, which is to leave the city, or in this case, this university, better than the way I received it. I'm just saying that. Right. So that really bothered me in the sense.
would bother me.
Right.
So, but, you know, there's a couple ways to handle this. One is
Right.
fight it, and the other is to
Well, no, I'm never.
apologize.
I'm not. Well, no, I'm not. I have nothing to apologize for.
You're not going to do that.
Well, no, I have nothing to apologize for. That individual can apologize. Indeed, that's one of the things she will do, as well as Mr. Wolf, who failed to honor his agreement with me. That I take offense to.
I understand you're a man of principle.
Right.
Okay? And I hear you about you have nothing to apologize for. I mean, you know, I'm not saying you do or you don't. Sometimes, Jeff, you just apologize and move on. All right? And you got to decide whether you're going to do that or whether you're going to fight it. That's up to you.
Well, but I don't apologize.
I don't think admission. I don't think apologies in court cases are settled like this all the time. The company settles, and part of the agreement is it's not an admission. It's just too hard and expensive to fight. Now, that's exactly right.
Right. That's exactly what they're trying to do.
Right.
My point is no matter what they do, I could not in good faith hold true to my soldier's oath and not say.
And I hear you. I'm just saying.
I understand the practicality issue you're saying, and I appreciate
that's all I'm
the advice you give me.
I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, think about this more broadly. Yeah, I understand you want that out of your file. That could be a compromise. You could say, listen, Dean, I'm willing to apologize.
No, that's not going to happen.
But I'd like this out of the file.
I'm not apologizing for something I didn't do.
Okay. I'm not telling you to do that.
Right.
I'm just saying, you know, that's another way to kind of look for some middle ground here.
To me, that would be akin to this, is that you have a rape victim the girl goes out and she's dressed up, you know, in slinky stuff, like a lot of the undergrad do. They wear stuff like a party. She gets raped. And so in the discourse in the court it says, well, you know what, you should apologize, you know, to the rapist because, you know, you were wearing that slinky outfit. That's akin to how I feel about that.
I'm not arguing.
And I know the point you're making. My point is, thank you at least for let me express the fact that defames my character, and it is not an accurate portrayal of who I am, nor the circumstances or the events that transpired. I have that documentation there. If you would like the video documentation and all the other things that I have, I'd be more than willing to afford that to you.
Yeah, but you don't need to do that.
Okay.
I mean, your argument is not worth us.
No, I'm saying if there's any...
You didn't do this in the Maxwell school or to a Maxwell individual.
Well, I understand you as a dean, too. You have a grad student that's a Maxwell student. I represent this school. In case there's... And I understand that. I mean, my mom was a dean, and she was, like, offered a very high administrative position at Harvard. It's not that I could be in my life all my life. I know how these institutions work. And I understand the bind that's there. What I'm saying is, if there's any question at all regarding the legitimacy of my statements, I have more than enough substantiating evidence to support what I say.
Okay.
Just so, not in the sense like you have to believe me.
Your mother's still around.
Mm-hmm.
Have you talked to her about this?
Right. I mean, she understands.
Have you?
I mean, about this specifically? No. I have been dealing with this here, and we went home, and when we went home, I went and had Thanksgiving dinner, and then we had to go.
No, I understand. Since she is familiar with
right.
higher education.
Right.
All these little cross currents. Maybe she might be able to count for you somewhat too. That's all I'm saying. Get some advice before you.
Well, her friends mentioned something along like, you know, why are you getting yourself involved with university politics? Do you know why? Because a few reasons. This is one of the battlegrounds of ideas, particularly in contemporary context, the joint operational environment, and that's the United States Joint Forces Command. On page 72 of their document, 2010, they talk about the battle of the narratives. This is where public policy is made. That's exactly what motivated both Dean Wolf and the other person that pushed to have Dean Steinwart in that position to give her that position. My point is that that view is not ubiquitous at all. And indeed, that's fine, they can hold that view. And if this is an environment of open ideas, then all ideas should be voiced without being punished. That indeed has not happened. I mean, believe me, what Mrs. Lang said to me, I'll never forget it, 2 years ago in my orientation. She said, here they teach you how to think, not what to think. That left a very deep mark on me. And I love Miss Lang. She is a sharp, wonderful, strong, principled lady. That statement will go to me till I die. I'm just saying that here the university has failed to live up to that ethic. Thank you very much for your time, sir. And I appreciate you affording me the time. Thank you. You too. Be safe. Slick out there.